pat yourself on the back because you are right here, right now, for a reason. Welcome to the On Purpose podcast, where together we will empower ourselves and others to live lives with more passion and purpose. How you doing this evening, Jared?
I'm fantastic, my good friend Ali. How are you?
Feeling good, feeling ready. Just had a
Yeah.
nice fight practice with you and the guys earlier, and ready to check off my first big goal of the year.
So we're about a week out, a little like 10 days away from you doing being able to cross that off your bucket list. It's something you've been wanting to do for a while, so it's fun to watch your journey and be part of it, getting you ready, and it's gonna be fun. It's an experience like no other. Let me tell you that, man. It's different.
Yeah, I'm sure, man. I appreciate all your help and support and coaching along the way, and ready to get after it.
Absolutely. It's just like everything else in life. If we keep our experiences to ourselves and don't share them, like, what good are they?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, I went through my journey, and my journey was great because I had Ryan sharing with me and Steve, and now I get to pay that back to you guys, and then someday you'll pay it back. So our experiences aren't meant to be kept to ourselves, and I think too many times people do that, and that's what you miss out on, is sharing your experience with other people so they can learn.
Yeah, I love what you were saying at your book launch, man. Awesome turnout, by the way.
Oh,
Love
gosh,
meeting
dude.
a lot of people in the community who are supporting you and who believe in you and who can learn from the stories that you share. I really liked what you had said in a small conversation we were having about how you wanted to share your stories and how everybody has stories
Yeah.
that somebody out there can learn from. So I thought that was really cool how you realize that, and I love how you have structured each chapter in your book, because each one is a very specific story that impacted your life that I think most people are going to be able to relate to in some way. Whether or not they had a very similar experience, I bet you that they've had similar results from their own experiences. And it was really cool to see, man.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
thanks. I appreciate it. It was the only word that comes to mind is humbling. You know, to hear Andrea talk, and I know how nervous she is to public speak. To see her actually like get up and have her notes, and I didn't know that was happening. So
Nice.
that was pretty emotional, and honestly, just to know that we've created, and I say we because it wasn't just me; it's all of us, have literally created something that will outlive all of us. And like Ryan, made a great impact in my life. And now his kids will be able to read and see what their family meant at one point in time. And my kids can see, and it's just it's an honor to be able to share other people's stories, because none of us own our own story. Like, if you think about it, all of our stories are actually a compilation of everybody else's stories, and they just apply to us. And I think for me, I was a little nervous when it released because I wanted to make sure I did their stories justice and I made them proud in how I told it. And the feedback's been really good, and it's just humbling to have actually finished it, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet, man. Long goal in the making. And you said overall, once you really got to it, about a year, 18
Yeah, about
months?
18 months.
18 months?
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's solid. So to our listeners out there, I'm sure there's going to be some on-purposers that'll publish their own book one day. It took Jared about 18 months, so that's definitely a commitment to a goal. And I hope to be able to see some more on-purpose community books published in the
Yeah.
time coming. So now that that's done,
Yep.
ties into our purposeful practice for last week. Are you ready to die? You ready to die now that you published a book?
No, man, I got a lot more to do. But I will tell you this. If the world ends tomorrow and today was my last day, I'm good with it. I spent time with Andrea in the morning. I got a good workout in. I coached the Rock Steady Warriors, which is something that's near and dear to me, helping them battle Parkinson's. I love my time with them. I got to work out with you guys and coach you for your goals. Got to spend some time with my kids, and now we're recording a podcast. So I feel very fortunate and blessed that my days right now are very much what I want them to be.
That's awesome, man.
How about you?
That's amazing. Me too. I was reflecting on it, and I think there's always gonna be the next thing, the next goal, the next accomplishment, something that we can be doing more of. But I feel really grateful to have accomplished so much in my life, and same. If I were to die today, I'd be good with it.
Yeah.
I do my best to try and show up, smile, be loving and respectful towards everybody that I come across, whether it's a homeless dude on the street or a billionaire, Kurt, whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that at least in the last few years, I would be happy. I would say, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I'd be like, oh man, it's not my time. I got a lot more work to do. And even though I feel like there's still a lot more work to do, I think that I'm living the way that my highest self would want me to be living for the most part. Of course, there's always more work and
Yeah.
progress, but for the most part, I'm good with it.
And I think that peace of mind really kind of ties into the topic we're going to get into today, and that it allows you to kind of start dictating your pace. And at least that's what I found for me is, in the previous episodes we talked about kind of slowing down and just enjoying moments. I think I'm able to do that now because I don't necessarily feel like I have to be going 8,000 miles an hour. I don't feel like I have to prove anything to anybody else. I don't like I'm comfortable. Like I'm happy with my life. I'm glad what I created. Now, do I need to do certain things more of? Absolutely. But I don't wake up every day like I used to in my 20s, maybe in my 30s, where I just felt the weight of every day. Like I have to do, I have to do, I have to do. Now I get to do. It's a
Hmm.
switch of a word, but I get to do a lot of things. I don't have
Hmm.
to do a whole lot.
Hmm.
And I think for me, that goes back to just the choices we made, the people we've surrounded ourselves with, and knowing um, that there's so much abundance in the world. I don't have to stress every day about will I get enough. I know if I show up and just be who I'm supposed to be, I'll have plenty.
Nice, nice. I can learn a thing or two about having that mindset of I get to do, because I definitely often wake up with that I got to do. So
But
so that's good.
I think that just comes with, I'm not gonna say maturity because we're all mature in our stage, but I think it comes with life experience.
Hmm.
And there's plenty of times in my life where I woke up every day feeling like I had to go to work, I had to do this, I had to do that, and just that word doesn't wreak enjoyment. Right? If I tell you I have to go do something, like that doesn't conjure images of me and loving doing it. But even if I have to do the same task and I say, hey, I get to go to practice today.
Yeah.
I get to go work out and push my body so that it lets me have a nice long life.
Mm.
Versus I have to spend an hour in a gym. It's the same exercise. It's just two different ways of framing it.
Yeah. That's
And I
that's
think
good.
for me, that's come as I've gotten older and realizing how much of my time I spent dreading what I was supposed to do instead of enjoying that I had the opportunity to do it. And, for a lot of people, we don't even get to that clarity of thought until there's uh, accident or a death or a near death experience or we lose somebody close to us, and then we reflect. And maybe it's from police work or whatever, being around a lot of people that didn't get to see their lives finish the circle. I realize I'm blessed. Like this isn't our normal recording time, right? We flip schedules because we got a lot of stuff going on. I could say, like, we could be like, oh, we have to go record, let's go record.
Hmm.
No, we don't have to do this. This is a blessing that you and I spend this time talking what we talk about and that people actually like to listen to it.
Yeah, we get to do
We
this.
get to do this. And how much of our life do we actually get to do versus we have to do?
Mm. Amen. Amen to that.
So for me, yeah, I get to do a lot of things. If I die tomorrow, I'm good. But yeah, getting that book done was definitely something that I knew I owed myself, and I owed the people that helped make me. I just wanted to be able to thank them.
Nice,
So
nice, man. Well, proud of you.
thanks, my friend.
Definitely,
Yeah,
definitely was a great turnout, and I look forward to watching you continue to progress and succeed on your journey. Now,
you're a big part of it.
appreciate it.
Oh man, I can't tell you how much you mean to me and my family and all the on purpose community because this, guys, we're coming up on a year. March will be a year since we launched this thing, and it
Yeah.
literally started with us looking at each other as really an opportunity to just grow,
Mm-hmm.
and pitched an idea, with nothing. We had nothing that said it was going to work, no market analysis, no business plan, just literally like, hey, let's try this.
Yeah.
And I think that's how a lot of good things in life happen.
Yep.
Sometimes we try to overplan so much we miss natural opportunities.
Agreed.
You know,
Grateful for you reaching out that day.
Who hut,
Yeah,
your
hoo-ha.
spot, man.
That is, man. Not lately since I've been cutting weight, but I'll be back after January 25th. That's
Yeah, I just remember when we went in there, you're like, let's have lunch at Who Hut. And Andrea hates Who Hut. Like, it grosses her out watching that sweaty guy back there cooking. And so I was like, all right. And we go in there, and you had your, like, Who Hut membership card or whatever.
Free meals, bro. They know me over there.
I was like, man, how much does he come to Who Hut? He has a membership card.
Hey, man, pick your proteins, pick your veggies, pick your sauces. Can't beat it.
No, it seems good as long as you don't mind a sweaty guy flipping it.
Not at all.
At least there
man.
you can see it.
Yeah.
I'm sure most restaurants, the dude's sweaty flipping your food. You just don't see him.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
no, Andrea saw that one time. I was like, I'm never coming here.
That's funny. Well, I'm your hoo-ha out if you're ever craving it, man.
Yeah, I'll make sure I bring Trey because he smashes at Who Hut.
Yeah, young king, young
Oh,
Trey.
gosh.
So, speaking of opportunities and accomplishing goals and everything, this is a really exciting episode for me because I'm just excited to talk about this with you because
Yeah.
this resonates a lot with me, and that's being a jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah.
So, my first question to you, Jared, to start things off is first of all, would you consider yourself a jack of all trades?
No.
No?
No, I think at one point in my life I tried to be. I think we masqueraded that as multitasking. And if you couldn't do like 4 things at once, you weren't a good multitasker. And especially in police work, like they would literally expect you to drive a car, listen to the radio, look for bad stuff, check your computer. Like you can't possibly be good at all that at once.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And so no, I don't think I was a jack of all trades, master at none. I think now I'm getting really good at the few things I do, but I've had to learn. Like, yeah, before when I was younger, I had so much going on. Now I've kind of pared down to what I really enjoy, but I'm a work in progress.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's still easy for us. Our personality and our willingness to see the good and the opportunity in a lot of situations, I think, leads us to be pulled in more directions than we probably should.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing. Andrea is really good for me in kind of setting boundaries and helping me, because my natural inclination is to try something new. And then that takes away from what I should have been working on.
Yeah, I remember when we first started the podcast, anybody who would email us, you'd be like, yeah, I'll meet with you, I'll meet with you, I'll meet with you. And just to the point where you're like, dude, I need to stop.
Well,
stop
you
saying,
told
yeah.
me that.
Yeah, I was like, dude, you got to, you'd be charging for this, first of all. 1, 2, it's cutting into your time. But no, I hear you.
And
on
I was
that.
paying. I was meeting with him and paying for coffee. I was losing on. It was good, though. It was
Yeah.
a good part of my experience. But it's a tendency I have to fight, is to see opportunities and not want to go and to be like, okay, wait a second, I'm supposed to be working on this. And I think that honestly, the book was a good exercise for me because I really had to get it out on my deadline that I self-imposed. I had to really focus like them last 4 months and work with an editor and do things I was uncomfortable with, but that I had to stay focused on or they weren't going to get done. They weren't like my natural strengths. What about you? How do you feel with that one?
I would say that I try or think that I am a jack of a lot of trades.
Yeah.
I think a big part of that was that I always, even as a kid, I never wanted to be bad at anything.
Yeah.
Even if it wasn't my natural inclination, like I was like, oh, I can do that, or I can be kind of good at that, and always wanted to do a lot of things. I think also was the way my father's mentality towards everything I did. Like, you got to be the best. You got to be the best at this, and like A plus, best athlete, best this, best that, and there was no like not being good at something. It was just like always the highest expectation, which I think is a double-edged sword
Yeah.
because it really did give me drive to continuously pursue excellence. But at the same time, I'm barely recently learning that there's just some things that I'm not good at and that I
Yeah.
don't need to waste time
Right.
trying to be good at. Especially in my business, when I first started it, and my old business partners could vouch for this as well, is that I would want to have my hands in everything,
Yeah.
know everything that's going on, try to progress a little bit here, a little bit here, and I think that that has been something that has held me back for a while of reaching my full potential. And if I'm not a jack of all trades, I am I take action towards a lot of good opportunities, which can hold you back
Yeah.
from creating opportunities that can be really, really great.
Yeah. And I think I wanted to ask, how did you? Because we have a lot of parents that listen to the show, and actually a lot of younger folks, teenagers and stuff. So how did you feel knowing your dad expects you to be the best at anything you did? So it gives you drive, but did you also feel pressure to try
Oh
to live
yeah.
up to that all the time?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And how did that manifest itself? Do you remember any issues where you just didn't want to do it because you didn't want that pressure?
Yeah, but I also felt like it wasn't really an option, to be
Yeah,
honest, to not do it.
really.
You know, there was definitely a lot of I don't want to, and a lot of arguments. Well, all these other kids don't do this and that, and da da da. Da. But I think that for me, it was just kind of like I had to get it done. And I think also since my dad had a very, he was a loving father, but he didn't do it like through words, and he was very like gift oriented, give you money, I had my
Ah,
first car was a Mercedes, like things like that, to where because I got straight A's and because I was doing well. But for him, he would hardly ever said I'm proud of you or
right.
good job. It was always like, well, how can you do better? Or how can you be number one if you were number two or whatever it is. So I think that a big part of me always wanted to impress him, that I never really gave up on trying to become the best at everything that I pursued. And maybe not the best, but my best. And I would always try and, I mean, even in my college days, I was a leader in my fraternity. I was a leader in the business school, and just had a lot of other things going. I had some martial arts stuff going, wanted to be social, the grades, that I wanted to have
Right.
everything at a high level. And I brought that over to my career, and I'm realizing that we can have anything, but we can't have everything.
Right.
And I'm really trying, especially for me, 2020, to narrow my focus and become masterful in just a few things.
That's awesome. How are you going to prioritize those? How are you? So here's for our audience, and I think this will be good tactical tips for them. You are an opportunist and you are a people pleaser. Like you're very much in tune with wanting people to like you, and you see the good in almost every situation. Like I can't remember hearing you speak bad about hardly anything.
For sure.
So now, how do you prioritize staying on what your priority is now versus getting distracted and taking on new priorities? It's like this fight, for example,
Yeah,
like when we told you, like, okay, we got you this fight, but you got to train this many days, you got to put in this much work. That was kind of our expectations that we agreed on. So I'm sure you've had to pass up other opportunities in that time.
for sure.
How do you prioritize that? Like, what's your metrics, or what are you using to weigh where you spend your time?
Well, right now is a perfect example of time being the most valuable commodity
Yeah,
that we have. With my fight being less than 2 weeks away, that is the top priority. I'm not missing training. I'm not missing meals. I'm not missing cardio workouts for anything, even though there are big things going on at work, big things going on in social, big other things happening.
yeah,
But this is my North Star. This is my primary priority because it's the most time sensitive. And because I made a commitment, that's another thing, is I have a very difficult time going back on something that I've committed to.
Yeah.
And it's only been very few times in my life where I've had the the capacity to be like, you know what, even though I committed to this, I have to take it back, and I
Yeah.
can't do this anymore. And I think that's also a double-edged sword as well, because of course you want to commit to things, but I think for me I have to just be more strategic and have a better process of really deciding when to commit to something, especially if it's going to take, reasonable amount
Yeah.
of time and energy.
Yeah, I like what you said though. You committed kind of to other people, and that kind of ties back to that accountability piece for a lot of people. Is when you make a commitment, and you other people are counting on you. It's hard not to get it done. But if you never would have shared this fight dream and you kept it to yourselves, it'd have been easy to be like, I'll put it off and go do this. I'll go do that.
Right.
So I think that's important. I think that's why, your circle is so important and being accountable to others, because sometimes it will hold you kind of on task when naturally we may drift a little bit.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I do when I make a commitment, is share it to the world.
Yeah.
Let everyone know, hey, I'm fighting this time. Blah, blah, blah. Dat Grat, same thing. Hey, I exercise gratitude every day. I want to influence 1 billion people by 2030. Do all this, to where I'm sharing it, and then it becomes even harder
To
to
go back.
to go back
Yeah.
on something. But that's, at this point in my life, it's going to be something that I have to do, just not very often, especially if I get better at selectively choosing
Yeah, and because I think that's a
priorities.
bad practice to get into for people listening. If you are constantly going back on commitments
Hmm.
because you're overcommitting, that's not a good habit to have.
No.
You're better off just telling people no up front than promising you'll be there, I'll do this, and then you don't show up. Or, hey, I'll get this done, and then you don't do it. I would much rather, and I would respect if you're just like, hey, dude, I don't have time for this. Like, I love you, I appreciate it, but it's just not my realm right now.
Hmm.
I would respect that.
Yeah.
But if I'm counting on you and then you let me down, that's a whole different dynamic.
Yep.
So that's one thing I agree with you is I try not to go back on commitments I made. Now I think we all have at some point, because what happens is you're trying to please everybody, you're trying to do everything, and infinite. It's easy when an idea comes to you, think like, oh, I can squeeze that in. It's going to take me 20 minutes. Nothing takes 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It always takes more time than you think, and then all of a sudden now you're robbing Peter to pay Paul because I was supposed to promise you this, but I'll steal a little bit of that time to take care of this. And then you just get into that never ending cycle. And for me, when I found myself in that places in my life, I didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy it, and I didn't feel good about what I was doing because I knew I was cheating you to take care of this, cheating them to take care of that, and not like cheating like I'm stealing from you, but I told you I was going to do something, and now I'm doing it like half-ass.
Hmm.
Well, that's cheating,
Hmm.
right? I should have just told you, yeah, I'll do it, but I'm going to do it half-ass. You cool with that? You just said no way. But I told you, like, yeah, dude, I'm in. Let's go. And then I know I'm cheating you. And I think that's a bad tendency to create for yourself. And I think it's bad energy in your life, because then that kind of attracts those people back to you. The
Hmm.
people that are going to promise you things and never deliver.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fascinating how that works, of attracting people that are operating in your similar frequency. I mean, just recently, man, like talking about, it's like as soon as you publish your book,
Yeah.
like three people in my network are like, oh yeah, I'm an author, I'm an author, I'm an author. And I was like, oh shit, like authors and speakers, and it's been pretty cool. Yeah, it's amazing how that happens. So yeah, I'm obviously working on narrowing my focus,
Yeah.
becoming a master at a few things instead of trying to take on all these new skills. For you, Jared, you got out of your career, 21-year career, and it's been pretty new to where you've had basically full control of your schedule, of your days, of your
Yeah.
time, and you've been experimenting
Yeah.
with different ways of structuring it. I know that you said that this year you wanna include a little bit more space, because this first year was kind of back to back to back to back to
Yeah.
back. So what would you say are the top priorities for you that are perhaps you can call them priorities, or maybe the trades that you want to master. Where are you best putting your time, and how do you decide that that's most important?
Yeah, it's interesting. As we were prepping for this, I was thinking, and actually, it comes back to something you told me. And I can't remember if it was on an episode or just in a conversation we were having when we were talking about each other's strengths. I think it was our strengths and weaknesses when neither of us could even identify weaknesses because we're like, we don't spend any time there. Like, I don't even know what those
Yeah.
are. And you were like, one of your strengths is building community.
Hmm.
And I had never thought of it that way. And then when I analyze my life, I'm like, okay, where am I in my happy place? My family, which is a community, the gym, it's a community, coaching, right? Whether it's our workshops, the podcast, I'm happiest when I'm doing things that involve bringing people to me. And it took me a while, right? Because like, there's a lot of people that want some of my time, and there's a lot of people that want to partner on this or have me help with that. But really, for me, that's kind of that barometer now: is am I building community? Does this build me a community? If it doesn't, if it's an isolated thing, if it's good for this one little group but not for the mass, then to me that's not where I want to spend my time.
That's good.
Right? Because like you said, like I was having one-on-one coffee meetings, but literally I was getting asked the same questions. I was having a lot of the same conversations because people were coming off the podcast, they were following the blogs, whatever. Well, better instead of doing 20 one-on-ones for the same conversation, let's do a workshop and bring 20 people together, create a community. Now they're supporting each other. So but I never thought of it that way till you told me, like, dude, you're great at building community. Now, then when I stopped and looked at my days, those are when I'm happiest, is when I have my communities around and I'm contributing and they're taking care of each other and we're all growing. So to me, that's what I want to focus on this year, is really mastering my communities and not being pulled in so many directions that are kind of isolated, but always kind of balancing it out. Is like, is this good for a community? Does this build a community? And if it does, then I want to invest in it. And if it doesn't, then I don't. Because I know that when I get pulled in those things that are like good for one person or better for them than for us, I don't enjoy that. So I don't know if that even makes sense, but
Yeah, no, it does. I love that. So let's dig a little deeper. How does that look when you're prioritizing your day, for
yeah.
example? How does that look when you have a list of tasks you need to get done, and then you prioritize? Do you literally ask yourself, like, what task can I do that's building community? How does that
Honestly, a
work for
lot of
your
them
day to day?
don't. Well, I mean, I have my tasks. I go to the grocery store,
Right,
like my
right.
life stuff. Doesn't, but no, like if I'm taking meetings or people are requesting meetings, like I literally ask that, like, okay, what community does this serve? Is this self-serving? Is this meeting just to benefit one person? Then I'm not interested. But like today, I met with one of the guys in the book, and that meeting was to talk about teaching people that he can reach and having well, that's a new community, so I'm interested in that. And I think to me it's a kind of easy metric there, because you kind of know when you meet with someone if they're there to take from you or they're there to share and give with you. If you're there sharing and giving, you're building community. But the first hint I get that you want to take and you're not going to give anything in return, I don't want to spend time there. And I think, like with you kind of helping me and Andrea holding me accountable, that's where I've probably gotten better. Is not spending as much time to get to that decision point, but picking it up sooner.
That's good. That's good stuff. I'm gonna keep that in mind for a lot of my meetings and stuff that I do in business.
Well, especially because you bring great energy, and you're very outgoing, and I think sometimes one of our faults is it's easy to be taken advantage of. It's easy to be brought into the next great idea because we're always looking for them. Not like out of desperation, like, oh, I got to have this, but because we just like to see the good in people and the good in situations. And I think for me, I spent too much time being pulled into self-serving and selfish situations and I knew it, like I could feel it, but you're still like, oh, let me explore this, let me see where this goes. And now I'm like, no, I'm cutting it off, because you're absolutely right, dude. Our time is so short, If you're a taker, if you're a taker, you're not going to fit in with everything else I have going.
Yeah.
And as soon as I identify it and don't waste any more time, then we're all better off.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes total sense. So with you, that's awesome that you have kind of that guiding north star of, is this building community?
Yeah.
Asking yourself that question, and that really being a filtering mechanism for actions and projects that you take on. Are there things that you're seeing now as an entrepreneur that you need to cut back on, that you've been putting time into, and that you feel may not be a priority, but you continuously to put time into?
Yeah, I think I still work on not taking as many meetings as or taking too many meetings.
Mm,
I think I still could cut back on that. I think the other thing that I need to work on as far as my entrepreneur side and just building all the businesses is probably, I don't know, like just structuring a little bit more, because I have multiple businesses, so sometimes I'll just deal with whatever issues are coming up that day for that business.
yeah.
And what I need to do is like be like, okay, this 4 hours is only for this one of my businesses.
Hmm.
Nothing else gets done here. I don't care, because very little for myself is emergency anymore, right? It's
Right.
not police work. But sometimes I still treat it like police work, and whatever emergency comes in is where I go.
Hmm.
And then like one aspect of business won't get touched for 3 days when I know I should have been doing a little bit every day. So I guess long story short there, I need to be better at structuring out so that everything I'm working on, probably there's three big ones, each get their equal time to continue the momentum building, right? Between the gym, the law enforcement stuff, the podcast stuff. Like those are my three basic umbrellas. Um, just I think just make sure I'm maintaining momentum in all those areas instead of kind of bouncing back and forth.
Do you think that you could achieve a higher level if maybe you cut one of those out? Like, let's say you have multiple businesses.
Yeah.
What if you just focused on one and sold the other ones, or didn't put enough time into it?
Yeah.
Well, why do you think that at this point in your life you want to be having more than
Multiple.
one? Yeah.
Honestly, dude, they make me happy. They literally make me happy. Like, jiu-jitsu, MMA. I couldn't imagine if what would I do if I didn't go to the gym every day?
Yeah.
Like, that's a huge piece of my community,
Mm-hmm.
right? Okay, so that can't go away. Well, coaching cops, teaching cops how to be better, how to have life after police work. I feel like I owe them.
Mm-hmm.
That was 21 years of my life. I can't just walk away from them.
Mm-hmm.
This community, like this is like truly, this adventure is one of the things I'm like, dude, I can work on this all day, every day, and never get tired of it. So I think what I'm doing there, all three of those meet the criteria I talked about earlier. They are all building communities.
Mm.
Now, can I be more disciplined in where they get time? For sure. For sure, I got to work on that. But honestly, I see almost all three of those as the same business. They're just different delivery systems,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm serving people in all three: the gym, police specific, and the on purpose community. But they're all building people, they're all empowering people, they're all coaching people. So now, if I had one, like if I owned, say, a plumbing company, nothing against plumbers, but it's not my thing, and I was like, oh, I hate working on my plumbing, I would sell it.
Yeah.
But I think right now they all meet the criteria and they're all helping build community. And I feel like when I'm in any of those three, there's a mutual exchange of good energy.
Mm.
So I don't want to get rid of them. Could I? And who knows? You might be right. If I sold two and only focused on one, might one skyrocket? Maybe.
Yeah.
But maybe it wouldn't.
Well, I think you said the key thing there is that they all make you happy.
Yeah.
And I think that, having a lot of things going on is okay. I mean, obviously I'm doing it, but I think what you said is exactly right, that you have to constantly try and manage your time. Like I was saying, MMA makes me happy. I love training. I love going to trials. I love jiu-jitsu. I love martial arts. I've loved it since I was a kid. However, I know that after the fight, I'm not going to be going to the gym
Yeah.
5 times a week, getting 8 practices in a week,
Yeah.
training as hard as I'm training right now. Right now, it's not sustainable for me to do all the
Long
other
term.
right long term.
Yeah.
Unless I just out of nowhere I'm like, you know what, I want to. This is going to be my career. I want to be a professional fighter, whatever. But that's not the path that I'm on. To where I never want to. I never want to cut that out. But after this fight, I know I'm going to be relieved to be able to cut back
Yeah.
a lot, and but still have that. For me, I think in the business realm is really where I'm like, I need to narrow my focus, because not everything I do as an entrepreneur necessarily makes me happy,
Yeah.
right? I get to do it all. I'm very grateful and
Yeah.
fortunate that I can be learning, but I know that having multiple businesses is is a double-edged sword. You have multiple opportunities. You can build cohesiveness, but I think it comes back to building community. Is
Yeah.
that it's more possible when you have good people around you
Yeah.
and a good team. And for me, I think that's something that I'm lacking right now.
Yeah.
So it's
Well, you had a
it's
lot of turnover, and a lot of it fell on your shoulders. So you went from having a full staff and a team to being a one-man show, which I think brings different pressures, different tasks, um, and quite honestly, a lot of "I want to show you I can do this on my own" type ego. Right? Like, I mean, you didn't buy out business partners to be like, we're bankrupt. Like, that makes no sense. So there's a little added pressure to it. And I think pressure's good at times, but there's also times that pressure can kind of cause us to lose focus or to lose the change the lens at which we're viewing what we're actually allowed to do and see it more in I have to do versus I get to do light.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. One thing that I've always put time towards is Toastmasters,
Yeah.
public speaking and leadership organization. And one thing that I noticed that I want to make sure that I never do is that I went to the higher level conferences where it's like 3 states combined, the district conference and competitions, and I met a lot of people that were like, "Oh, I've been in Toastmasters for 30 years,
Yeah.
20, 30 years," but they're, I wasn't that impressed, to where I could see, and I still see some people in certain clubs that are just kind of there going through the motions and not progressing. And I think
Yeah.
that that's something that can be really easy to do and almost kind of be undercover to where you don't even notice it. You think you're going to the gym, like you could be going to trials every week and not getting better
Yeah.
and just going through the motions. Same thing with Toastmasters, not getting better, going through the motions. And I think what I've gotten better at, and what I'm going to need to continue to be aware of, and what I encourage our community to be aware of, is you can be a jack of multiple trades, but make sure that you're measuring your progress
Yeah,
in,
that's
in,
good.
in in some way to really become masterful in some. Like,
Don't be just doing the same practice you've been doing.
exactly, like martial arts, yeah, I'm going to cut back, but it's always going to be a part of my life. I know that. Public speaking, whether or not it's Toastmasters that I'm going to every week, always going to be a part of my life. I know that. I know that these are things that I want to continue to master, right? And a true master knows that practice never ends.
Yeah.
That there's always getting better. So for me, I know public speaking, martial arts, business, mostly related to the speaking sales
Yeah.
community realm, are going to be things uh, that I want to master. What about for you? What are things that you feel like you have masterful skills in, or that you're looking to master, especially in this year? What are you putting a
Yeah.
lot of time towards and want to get
I
better
want to
at?
refine my speaking.
Okay.
I feel like a lot of times I'm still not as polished as I should be. That I think it's a double edged sword. I feel like I have a good EQ sense with my audience, and I can kind of see what's working and what they're connected with and share that. Um, but I think at some points that's hard to market because like to be a highly sought after speaker, you really have like one key speech you deliver.
Yeah.
And they know like, okay, this is what he's talking about, whereas even I don't know sometimes.
Right.
So I think just refining things. I think I'm still raw in some of my speaking, some of my writing, some of the stuff that's which is good because it's helped propel me where I'm at. But now I think it's time to get better, and it's the time to get a little more serious and realize like, okay, this works. Like I'm good at it, but it's just like, like if you're a good athlete or you're good, but you don't keep refining, well then everybody else is going to pass you up because they were also good, but they worked harder than you.
Yeah.
So I think I need to work on that,
Nice.
that refinement, and I want to learn Spanish.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Nice.
just I think we talked about it, but on
Still in the realm of communication.
yeah, and it's building community. Like I
Yeah.
felt terrible when I went to this little uh, grocery store up on North College, and it's run by a Hispanic family, and they're great people. Like I could just tell they were good
You're
people,
just
and I
playing
couldn't talk to them.
charades,
Yeah, well,
making
like,
hand motions.
yeah, well, they ran. The little old lady, she seemed so nice. She went out back and got, I'm guessing, maybe a grandson or a nephew, and he came in and translated. But I was like, gosh, this. And then I started thinking, like, like that's her life. Like, how many places does she go and nobody can communicate with her? And I was like, I want to learn.
Dang.
So,
Pues, si quieres aprender español, podemos practicar.
oh
So
man,
if you want to learn some
yeah,
Spanish, we can
practice.
practice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
boy, I picked up practical. See, dude, I'm pretty good on my Spanglish. Like, I get one word per sentence
Yeah.
most of the time.
There you go.
And
Got
then
to start somewhere.
So I do want to do that because Andrew and I want to travel, and we love being warm.
Oh yeah, South America.
So I'd love to go to Mexico. I'd love to go to South America, but I want to feel confident that I can communicate and and honestly, like, how can I learn their stories if I can't talk to them?
Yeah,
And like,
I get
imagine
it.
how many cool stories people of other cultures have that I've never even heard about that I want to learn.
Definitely.
So that's my goal, is just mastering my crafts, building communities, giving back, and making sure that I'm not the same guy in 2021 that I was in 2020.
Yeah. Should have you considered joining a Toastmaster club? You thought about that at all?
No,
No.
I kind of, that's your space, bro. I let you rock your
Hey, you don't
Toastmasters.
have to join mine.
Yeah,
It's just
no,
a place you can
I
practice every
haven't.
week.
I have been looking at Babbel. It's a
For
new
Spanish?
online language program.
Cool.
That's like a monthly subscription. It looks like it's a pretty slick way to learn. So I've been
Nice.
researching how to learn Spanish. Um, yeah.
Cool.
What about you? What do you want to master this year?
Um, I want to say master. It's funny because this is an extra thing that I'm adding on, but I really want to. I feel like this fight in a sense is a milestone, almost a graduation
Yeah.
point for me in the physical realm. I did a men's physique show, which is bodybuilding. I've competed in lots of wrestling and jiu-jitsu tournaments, and I feel like I have a staple of health in my life that'll never go away. And I'm excited to dial that back, still train, but really focus more on developing my intellectual capacity in my mind. And I was doing a lot of research on brain health and how certain things like languages and music
Yeah.
really develop the mind, writing, art, all these things. And I've always been very dominant in the physical realm, but I don't have many creative practices like writing, like painting, like music. So I think I said this in a previous episode that I'm going to be taking some piano skills,
Yeah.
or piano lessons. Don't think I'm going to master it, but I really want to take more time to include that in some of my productive leisure activities. And I really want to become masterful at speaking. I don't think I told you this actually, but my club, I'm giving the Martin Luther King I Have a Dream speech
Oh, nice.
on Martin Luther King Day
That's Monday.
at the Estes Park Library, and I practiced it at my Toastmasters club, and it was really cool because it's been a really long time to where I got goosebumps.
Are you reading Martin Luther King's speech?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
gotcha.
I'm reading his speech, and I'm trying to give it like he did.
Yeah. Oh, that's tough.
And really, the inflection points and everything. But it's been a long time since I have felt like divine in reciting words, right, to where I was getting goosebumps.
Yeah.
And it really brought me back to that love and passion that I have for speaking, but that I just haven't felt in a really long time. So for me, I
Interesting.
want to become a little bit more masterful in communication, but also just kind of the intellectual realms, and not put such a heavy focus on the physical realm.
Nice. Yeah, it's interesting. What do you think your connection to that speech is? Just know what it stands for, or
Well, I was
so it's an
asked,
honor?
yeah, it's really humbling because I tend to give speeches that are more pretty deep, pretty deep speeches. So I was asked. I think I can connect to that speech in a lot of ways. I'm not African American, but I have dealt with a lot of racism
Yeah,
in my life and things like that, being half Arab and half Mexican, to where I can understand being judged by your color, by your
yeah,
race, by your religion. I've experienced that. I can understand that. And it was unfortunately very applicable to a lot of the media today when and I've never read or much less recited the entire I Have a
yeah,
Dream speech,
yeah,
but some of the words and lines in that really gave me goosebumps and really was like, holy shit, this was in 1960 or 1963, whatever it was,
yeah,
in the 60s,
yeah.
and it still really applies. So it was like, whoa, maybe we need to listen to this a little bit more. So I'm excited.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
I'm I'm really honored to give it, and I think it just speaks to a lot of what we need in the world. Just unity, community, coming together, showing love, helping each other grow, be the best we can be, and that's what I'm gonna do.
that's awesome. I'm proud of you for doing that.
Thanks, man.
That'd
I'm
be pretty
excited.
cool. Awesome. We should get some practice for these listeners.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So we got a couple steps for purposeful practice this week. Got a few listeners who earned an On Purpose T-shirt. So good job on that. Continue to submit your purposeful practice to us. So the first step of this practice is identify your top two priorities and explain why these are your top. Then identify things that you put time towards that are not in your top priorities. Three, what steps must you take to put your primary priorities to the top of your list?
Yeah.
And then, most importantly, email us your practice to onpurpose.official@gmail.com.
Awesome, man. And we really appreciate you guys listening. This is episode 44. We got big things coming up that we're excited about. And man, please share this, with your friends, your colleagues. Give us a rating on iTunes or Spotify or iHeartRadio, wherever you're listening, and let people know that we're out there, because there's room for plenty in our community, and we need your help to make sure they know where to look for us.
That's right.
So we appreciate you all. Remember, team, life is far too short to live any other way than on purpose. We'll see everybody next week.